see who you gonna call if you wanna be free. GLOBEBUSTERS! 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 Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Yeah! GLOBEBUSTERS! GLOBEBUSTERS! GLOBEBUSTERS!
And welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS. We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLOBEBUSTERS Tech. I am your host, Zach, Good Times for All, and today we'll be talking about a call to action. Kyle has been really planning some awesome activism, and he's been doing some amazing activism over the years, really. I've been out there on the streets doing it a few times. Usually right around Flattoberfest. It's not something I go out and do on my own very often, but when, some of the legends come to town, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll go out there on the street and see it firsthand, So I've been out there, but yeah, so Sunday show was really a really techie show. And this one we're going to I'm going to talk about something before we get into the call to action a little bit. Just address something that I've been hearing around the community about how much power is in the atmosphere, how much electricity is up there in the sky above our heads. And I hear a lot of people saying that there's not that much, that it's like the thing I do with the two plates and do that with those little tiny pieces. And, they're saying, well, the earth, there's no way there's that much power that the earth could be doing that.
Lightning.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not that much power.
Yeah, I mean, when you start looking, and I don't know, I mean, I've never tried to measure the whole earth, I don't even know if they know, but the numbers they give are still just ridiculous. It's crazy how much power they claim is above our heads, coming down from this ionosphere, this imaginary thing. So we're going to get into that too a little bit first, and then we'll get into some Activision things that are going to be taking place. But before we do that, we're going to say hello to everybody on the panel. Starting off, we're going to say hello to Miss Karen B. Karen,
hello.
How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
You look great.
Thanks.
Are you getting excited?
Yeah, I am. I'm just still,
This one's
doing
different.
things.
It's just different, isn't it?
It is different. It's a little bit more intense. There's more involved, and it's remote location, so it's a little bit more stressful. But I think it'll be good. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a blast. I hope everybody has a fantastic time.
Yeah.
You all better have fun.
The world
yeah.
will be watching. This is an epic moment in history for sure.
Awesome.
Miss out on that.
And how's the channel doing? Everything going okay? Did you get
Yeah.
it back and going and awesome?
It's there. I just don't live stream there. I'm live streaming to the Unveiling This Realm channel. So if you're missing
Okay.
my live streams, that's where I'm at. Anybody who hasn't figured that out yet and cares.
Awesome. Next up, we have Mr. Kyle Adams. Kyle, how was your week, sir?
Very busy. I've been doing all kinds of stuff. I can't wait to get into it if we're ready for that. And so, yeah. This season, it's kind of back to school season for me. I'm going to college again, doing this with BYU. They've got this BYU pathway program that I'm all involved in. And I just wanted to sign up to go do some family history classes and see how far I could get with that and to take my skills in that to the next level. But when I got into that, they wanted me to do more than just that. There's this whole life skills lesson that they want me to do as a prerequisite to that. And it's like, oh, I've already got my bachelor's degree. Can I just test out of it? And like, no. I'm like, not if you like, you can just skip that. But if you do that, you're going to have a much higher tuition rate, and it's just going to be better down the long run if you want to do additional classes after this one. I'm like, okay, if you insist. And so I'm doing this whole kind of boot camp thing. And if I can screen share here, I'll show you a little bit about
absolutely.
that. Is there a way to
wait before you start taking off?
Yeah.
Can we introduce Cami real quick?
Yes, please.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, Mrs. Cami Nodell. Cami, how are you doing? You are muted if you're speaking.
Oh, I am such a total rookie for doing this so many times. I have no excuse whatsoever. That was me on mute. It's great to be here tonight. I'm glad that the panel is so excited, and we have so many different things going on. I have for you, Zach, a question to remind me to ask on the gigawatt charging right now, because we do have a number going on that's called an HPI, which is ground charging, that's right now sitting at 27.2 gigawatts. I didn't know if that would be a number I could show or help you with. Might not have anything to do with what you were saying.
No, I'm more looking into the volts and the amps.
Aha.
Yeah.
Doesn't give me that. So, well, I got nothing for you then. Got nothing at all. Hopefully I'll have some for Kyle and some for Karen with the rest of the show, but it's great to be here tonight.
All righty. All right, Kyle, it is yours.
Game time. All right. Okay, so let's share screen here and share system audio. Okay. All right. I think we can see this now. So here's the basic learning strategies, and I was supposed to write a paragraph on one of them, and so I clicked on learn to ask good questions. And so and it's really just kind of this about asking good questions and about how that can be really good for you in school and help you learn better. And so this is my paragraph, and I'm like, okay, well, if you want me to go back and do this, I'm not holding any punches. No, I'm not holding back on anything here. I'm just going all out. So good questions help us build strong foundations of understanding. I already have a bachelor's degree. In getting my bachelor's degree, when it comes to science, I had a tendency to nod along with whatever my teacher told me. My textbook said it, so it must be true. When my textbook said that the Earth was a globe, I never challenged it. Then, sometime after graduating, I met some people who had some great questions concerning the globe Earth model, and I didn't know how to answer them. I quickly discovered that my foundation in the globe model was really weak, which made it really easy to abandon the globe model and adopt the flat Earth model, because I felt it better explained things. President Heber C. Kimball once taught us He once taught us that no man or woman can endure on borrowed light, and that we must all gain personal knowledge of truth and be guided by that light within us. Asking good questions is how we do that. If Joseph Smith never questioned what his religious teachers taught him, there never would have been a restoration. I failed to ask good questions my first time around. As such, I had a weak foundation. This time around, I want to ask good questions so I can have a strong foundation and have my own light. So yeah, it is a religious school, and so Joseph Smith is one of the people we talk about, but I'm not really going to get into all that. But I just wanted to kind of point out how I'm really not holding any punches, and I'm just jumping right out. You want to hear about my life? This is my life. And so
yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean,
it's
honesty, right?
Yeah. It's definitely made it the most fun experience I've ever had going to school. Just like they've got a whole mentor for me, and they're asking, okay, well,
and it sounds like no fear. You have no fear going into this.
Yeah, no fear. And especially I already have my bachelor's degree, so like if I fail, who really cares at this point? You know what I mean? But if there's any kind of conflict with that, and so yeah, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm not hiding anything, and yeah, nothing to lose, kind of a matter. So let's see, I before I mentioned how my entire channel, let's see, I was gonna stop sharing for a second. So I mentioned how my entire YouTube channel and Facebook channel got deleted in the exact same day. And that was just, what? That's kind of just a really crazy thing to happen. And I said, going forward from here, I've got two major goals. Okay. And I wanted to step out of kind of my boundaries and just go everywhere instead of just being YouTube exclusive. I'm going to Brighteon, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, and just everywhere on that. And then my second objective was I wanted to do something like do something really big that the media would just not ignore, just really stand out and get out there. And so I thought, well, I want to go do a protest. And so do a bunch of protesting out in the street with fire. And yeah, and because people would see that, as long as it's in a pit, and as long as I'm like, do it legally is my whole thing. And so got to be smart about it, but still do it in a way that it's going to draw attention or something like that. So that was I've got this whole picture here of my kids out there with me, kind of having that big bonding experience, and they're going to be roasting marshmallows on top of my little fire cans, I guess you could say. Yeah, they keep asking, Dad, when are we going to go do that? And so I'm still going to do that, I promise. And so yeah, I've just been caught up with this other whole thing, and so with this whole going back to school thing, I've been going over to Utah Tech, which is the closest college towards me. This whole BYU thing is all done online. But anyways, I've been going over to Utah Tech, and I've been interviewing students over there. And my first thought was, I'm just going to go talk to them about star formation. That was one of my academic goals, is to find out more about star formation. And at least that's what I told my mentor. And so I'm like, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to talk to the different students on campus to see what they have to say about it. And so I started interviewing them on that, but all of a sudden it quickly turned into a whole other direction. It's kind of like the snowball effect. I start one thing and I start going down that path, and all of a sudden one thing turns into another thing, which turns into another thing. And yeah, this huge snowball effect. And so I start by asking about, what do you know about how stars are formed, and about how NASA claims that? And I guess I could just show you that real quick, because it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I've seen Neil deGrasse Tyson in the news a lot, taking heat. And people are calling him out for the ridiculous things he said. If they only knew,
Yeah.
But he's been talking a lot about a lot of the really polarizing issues going on in this country right now. So yeah,
Neil Tyson?
Yeah, and he's taken the woke agenda side.
Totally. I was just gonna say, I watched a clip of him talking about the transgender thing. Yeah. Talking some nonsense.
Yeah.
Some complete nonsense.
Yeah, there's a lot of people calling him out.
Do you have a video clip to share on that we can talk about?
Yeah. We'll get into it maybe here at the end. We might jump over to Rockfin for like 20 minutes or a half hour where we can actually speak freely and share stuff like that,
Okay.
and not get.
I get that, because over here it's very, very censored. So,
yeah.
Especially on our thin ice as it is.
Yeah.
Just with Plateauberfest coming up over so quickly. And so so this is one of the interviews I did that just really stood out to me, and I like the kind of way it went. And yeah, it no longer was about just star formation. It ended up being more than that. Can you hear it all right?
Yep.
you put gas into a vacuum,
I can't hear it very well.
Oh, you weren't hearing that? I heard it pretty good.
Okay, maybe it's just quiet on my end.
How about you, Karen?
Well, so
Cammy?
that, right?
Okay.
Do you know how stars are
Oh,
formed?
okay.
No.
NASA claims that stars are formed by gas clumping together in the vacuum of space. And then it just has this pooling effect where more and more gas molecules start sticking together until it gets so dense that all of that gas explodes and turns into a star.
Okay.
Right? So if that's a test question and you don't agree with the answer because we don't observe gas clumping together in a vacuum, would you feel like you're being forced to lie on a test to say something that you don't believe in?
It depends if that's what I was taught. Like if that's what the teacher said was the answer, then I'd feel like if that's what's said, that's probably what's just going to be on the test. I don't feel like it's really lying.
If you're saying something that you don't believe in, okay, is that a lie to say something you don't believe in? So here they're giving you a test saying how are stars formed, and you are forced to say stars are formed by gas clumping together in a vacuum, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't believe that's how stars are formed. That's not lying?
Well, I don't know. I guess it would be then.
Okay. So would you say that is that kind of a common thing in the testing center, would you say, where you're forced to say whatever it is your teachers say, but you're not allowed to agree, you're not allowed to disagree with them?
Yeah, actually, because I don't know, they basically just read it off. They don't really offer any other agreements or disagreements in it. So
Yeah, there's when you do a Scantron, it's just A, B, or C, and it doesn't give you an option to say, well, this is the answer you want me to say, but I disagree with your answer because of this.
Yeah.
They don't have any kind of room for that, and so yeah. Would you say that's kind of a problem with academia as we know it today?
yeah.
Yeah. Would you appreciate having a line where you can say, I disagree with this answer because of this, but this is the answer you want to say? You want me to say?
I could say that, or I could see that just because, I don't know, because I feel like a lot of tests are just testing you on trying to remember things, not because that's maybe exactly what the teacher believes, because I know I've taken courses before where it's like, I don't actually believe in this, but it's what the book says, so I'm just going to write it back down as the answer. So I think they're more so testing you on, like, can you remember this? Not so, is it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's what we want to see is we want to fix this problem, right? There's too much indoctrination going on in academia and not enough individual thought.
Yeah.
Join me. Start sending texts and writing emails, people. Is your class safe for me in this regard? A simple solution to this problem is instead of asking, how are stars formed? Ask, how does NASA claim stars are formed? When you ask a question this way, I am able to separate myself from the question. I don't have a problem saying how NASA claims stars are formed. I have a problem with being expected to act like I agree with them. This is just one example that could be applied to many different kinds of questions. Send.
Okay. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on this whole thing on them forcing you to say, kind of forcing you to agree with the curriculum?
That's easy. That's brainwashing. That's what that is brain. I mean, it's proven as brainwashing.
It's
and the techniques on it.
indoctrination.
It's indoctrination. It's again to repeat it, and that stopping and thinking attribute. If again, it's there. If they want to test you on your memory skills, there are ways to do that without putting in disputed facts or again stories. And again, your answer of how to phrase the question just again adds a layer of transparency and honesty to it. So I think that you have to almost call it brainwashing without the layer of transparency or without the area of that, because again, they're giving it as a right or wrong answer. They do not answer how they're told to answer. They will get it wrong regardless of, again, if it could be proven right or wrong on it. Again, if it's really a fact, that's not a wrong answer to think something through and have thoughts on it. That's not a wrong answer. I don't know if you guys all saw, I dropped it into, I think, the GLOBEBUSTERS main show, the article about what they don't know in science. There's a lot. Does anybody
What they
remember looking
don't
at?
know in science. Can you
Do you want me to
remind us?
bring it up really quick?
Oh yeah, go for it, please.
Okay, let's see if I can. Let me get it up there and then switch over to present. That's right. I'm looking. I'm still looking while we're doing on this. I'm looking for what the correct, because I have how many GLOBEBUSTERS groups that I'm in. So it's just that I know which one I dropped it in.
I'm going to do something I don't do normally while you're doing that. I'm going to say hi to some people in the chat.
Please.
Hello, Adam, AEO, Bill Wheel, Lee Redpath, Mr. One, YouTube, Tinfoil Hatman, Joe Mama. We can start the show now. He's here. Okay. Mrs. Tribune, welcome. Nathan, Commercial Sound and Video. Much love, brother. Diggy Abby Lynn. Mojo. What's that Mojo shop? Kevin Douglas. Nick. How did you get that, Nick? I guess anybody can have it. I'm thinking Rethink. Yeah, Rethink Inc. I know I saw you in there. Yeah, I hope you all are having Glenn Selch, Run Boston Bear. I'm going to start heading back down now. Five Dragon in Erie. Nice. I like that name. Benji the Salted. Nonprofit Bear. Whenever you're ready, Cammie. I'm just...
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I didn't want to...
Yeah, I was just waiting
on
for
this-
your share thing. I was just going to keep
Okay.
going till you...
So just indoctrination is teaching someone to think something uncritically. That's what indoctrination is, to think about something uncritically, or to believe in something uncritically. And yeah, that's
And
exactly
it starts, at a very young age, because
when there's no room to
sense.
disagree, that is exactly what it is.
Yeah. And that's kind of cult behavior, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That is cult behavior, considering that, like, again, Scientific America or Scientific American, which is again, a very, very well respected source. This is what we don't know about the universe. In recent days, I've had some interesting conversations. There's a giddiness going around related to it. This is a little bit older one. This is from 2014, and this isn't going to change. I can bring them up every few years. This is just one that we get, the kind that you get from President Obama introducing TV science shows. You know, that special outpouring of science love, a sin that none of us could ever be. Anyway, we'll get into that, but we don't know why the universe exists. We don't know what dark matter is or dark energy. It's a big problem, a big constant problem. Normal matter, the stuff of you, the stuff of me, planets, stars, and cheese sandwiches amounts to only about 4.9% of the total matter and energy content of the universe. They've decided that allegedly, and again, they're putting this as fact. 26.8% of matter is dark. We know it's there because on a large cosmic scale, stuff moves around faster than it should. So we know it's there.
Not because the universe is not actually as big as they're telling you it is.
Right.
Dark matter, dark energy. This is Neil Tyson's statement
stuff
where he
moves
said
faster.
that we are 98% stupid about the universe.
Moves faster than it should. It moves faster than it could. It moves faster than, like, all get out. And we don't feel it. So it has to be there. We have to have dark. That's nasty, but perhaps nastier is dark energy. You think it's bad that we don't have dark matter? It's nastier. We don't have dark energy. Something is causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate. It didn't used to. Up until 5 or 6 billion years ago, the stretching of space. Yes, the stretching of space. Are we even thinking about what we're reading when we're having our children memorize this. Apparently not. The stretching of space following the Big Bang, which is now again in dispute again, but this is all done this fact. They don't know what exactly it is. We do not know. What exactly is it? We do not know. We have lots of ideas, which is great. It's always good ideas to have about, it's always good to have ideas about 68.3 of the universe. It's always good to have ideas about it, but they don't know. We don't know whether life exists anywhere else. That's close to this person's heart. He doesn't know.
No.
Well, and what's scary is they don't even need to teach this stuff in schools anymore. It's just a part of society now. It's like everywhere. So many movies are about this, especially like the real big blockbuster movies, the Marvel movies and the DC, they're all about space, of course, and now they're into even multiverses and all this crazy stuff. But children are being hit with this stuff at a much more, it used to be what, Star Trek, maybe a couple other shows or comics, stuff like that, few movies. Now it's like you can't get away from it. I don't think children are learning much of anything in schools anymore. Really.
They're not. I checked through it. They're really not. I checked with my son in that they do have a lot of what they call the civil things that they need to talk about. But again, we handed over. We did exactly what they wanted us to do with the women's movement. They got all of the women working and too busy to find out what the children are doing. They turned stay-at-home mother into an unemployed deadbeat.
Instead of you raising your children, let us raise your children for you.
Exactly. If you don't do this, you are a deadbeat or whatever. If you actually try to take and look and teach and work with your children the way that it's always been done, but instead we'll say put off childbearing until you're in your mid-30s. That way you have your established career. You're used to just, again, following orders and that. Toss your children over to us. We'll take care of all of that. Stay out of it. It's none of your business. We want to have private conversations and that with your children, but that's none of your business. That's their privacy, not yours. And with again, part of the little scale, you completely surround them and indoctrinate them, and you get a generation like we have coming out that is confused about everything. They don't know what a woman is.
Yeah.
The most fundamental questions are no longer that, because we're going to get to the next one. They haven't really figured out the quantum world. No shit. Why it's true our present mathematical framework of quantum mechanics can do wonders. It can describe things, and that doesn't mean we've nailed the case shut. Quite the contrary. We only need to cast a look over the literature to see that the most fundamental aspect of quantum nature is the universe is still causing headaches and disagreements. People are still reformulating the ways to deal with the quantum nature, supposedly. They can't call it fully understood at all. No, every day you go into the things, you'll see that there are different arguments on it. We don't understand, this is going back to it, we don't even understand our own biology. It's not too radical to say that. No, it's not too radical to say that. If you don't know what a woman is, you do not understand your own biology. If we did understand every detail of how we worked, we'd presumably be able to eliminate disease, assuming that it's actually better for us.
That's
goes
a
on.
big one. But you know what though? Here's the thing. It's not that they don't know, it's that they're lying about all this stuff.
They lie about it. And what they do, they come up with the engineered crops, they come up with the new sciences, they come up with the new drugs, they come up with the new this, they tell us it's all fine because we are so knowledgeable. We know it all, but we don't. And it comes back and it keeps biting us. Engineered
Let's give you a whole
crops.
bunch of problems, and then we can sell you on solutions to those problems.
The latest one that I sent Karen, and like she said, it would be an easily solvable one with mass and liquids in that. But workers in California are dying at this crazy, crazy rate young, supposedly ones that work on the quartzite countertypes. You know how they now do the manufactured quartz in laboratory and not in nature? Well, it
Mm-hmm.
seems that the particles from these are more abrasive than that than the natural. And so the people working on the countertops, their lungs are being inundated with the quartz they're like little needles of it, and they're dying from it in their 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Neat engineering, isn't it? We don't know how the earth works. No, they don't.
That's for sure.
I do a lot of stuff under how the world works, and it's just breaking down little parts that actually work. But yeah, no, they don't know. I'm not going to let this go back to you, but I'm just saying with this article, we don't know how the world works. We can't prove or solve many of our own mathematical conjunctions and problems. Ouch. We don't know how to make an artificial intelligence. They'll say that they have that now. No, they don't have sentience. They can't have sentience. The conclusion, there's an awful lot we don't know, far more than just the examples here. Yeah. But remember, they know everything. Just going to close it down and go back to the show. Stop sharing. But anytime there's a book that we have at the house, I need to find two saying that we know less than 3% about anything and everything. Again, when they focus on memorizing all the facts, they do that in specifics, while in the abstract, in overall conclusion, they admit we know shit.
This is the classic.
And yeah, we know shit, but we know shit, but it's important that you memorize all of the details of the shit we know.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the
order for
part
you to
that
pass
really
the test.
gets me the most.
Mhm.
We have all these just super genius minds. And where do these people all end up? Astrophysics.
Physics, and they task them with
With
impossible.
these big giant equations that they all, and
They tie up their brilliant
I'm sure
minds.
some of them comprehend the stuff. Some of these brilliant, but it's Narnia that they're all, imagine what this world would be if we had all that brain power going towards something real.
Yeah, no
But
kidding.
they're taking the brain power and they're directing our highest brain power into solving what you call,
Irrelevant.
a
Irrelevant.
fictitious equation, one that you can't have a right answer to because they're not starting with a correct baseline. It comes right to the story of the three men in the hotel, that your baseline, they presented the problem wrong in that story. The way
Well,
that
yeah,
they
gravity is a perfect example. Look at all
exactly
the brain power that has been wasted on trying to figure out gravity going on
when
above our heads.
when all the mechanics and everything it causes has already been accounted for.
It's
But
crazy.
I think that was an
except
episode of
for when you
Star
get to
Trek
space.
one time where they had this evil computer, and the only way that they could come up with defeating this evil computer was to give it some kind of weird mathematical equation that it couldn't solve. And so it's just kind of one of those infinite equations. And so and that was kind of their solution to it. I think Rob Skiba talked about that one time or something. I don't know. The plot line kind of seems parallel to what we're talking about here. Instead of the computer going on, we got these really brilliant minds out there who are just getting distracted into these, ever nonsensical equations. These ones that just bottomless pits.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess we can geek out for, this shouldn't be too long. Take me about 10 minutes to go over this. But just the electricity in the air. And then you can have it back, Kyle.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So the electricity in the air. I'm just going to play this short little video here. We've played this. Was one of Bob's favorites for just showing that a normal guy can go and show you that there's electricity in the air. This is a coronal motor. Actually, I'll just let it.
The ground. Electricity then flowed through the wire and corona motor, making it turn. In this video, I'm going to explain how it works. Much of the following explanation is adapted from Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman's lecture on physics, a section called Electricity in the Atmosphere. For every meter you go up in the air, the voltage increases by around 100 volts, or we could say around 100 volts per yard. We can draw these voltage increases using what are called equipotential lines. Notice that the ground is negative and the sky is positive with respect to each other. According to Feynman, this extends upward to 50 kilometers, or 31
Did you
miles.
hear that? He even said it right.
What?
Positive and negative with respect to each other.
Uh-huh.
That's all you really have to say. I can still use positive and negative. I don't have to use high potential, low potential. I can just use positive and negative with respect to each other.
Mm. Can you
That's
turn the sound up
beautiful.
on the video?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
it's going to be loud, so
Well,
be ready.
okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why it keeps going down, why all of them are so low. Here we go.
Where the air is very conductive. This is the case in fair weather, positive
gonna
with
back up
respect
a
to
little
each
bit.
other. According to Feynman, this extends upward to 50 kilometers, or 31 miles. Where the air is very conductive. This is the case in fair weather. In stormy weather, like a thunderstorm, things are quite different, and I won't talk about that here. But if this voltage exists
Oh.
between your head and the ground,
No sound on video?
No, there's sound.
Okay.
They're talking about
Yeah.
they're late. Just
Okay.
keep going. You're good.
All
why
right.
don't you get a shock? The reason is that your body is a good enough electrical conductor that standing on the ground, you're basically a part of the ground. The equipotential lines would look like this. There's still effectively 0 volts between the top of your head and ground.
And do you see that? That right there? That's where the electrostatic pressure comes from. You know, this wants to be flat. This wants to be flat, but you're grounded. So it is like, you know, kind of, you can see it. You can see the bow right there. This wants to be here, but you're in the way. So there's an electrostatic, you know, it's not accelerating you really because you're not moving, but there's that pressure there
Mm-hmm.
that's just holding you there.
So would this
Similar
imply
effects.
that taller things have more pressure?
I don't know. I'm not really sure because of the equipotential. I'm not really sure. Maybe. I've never really thought of it that before. I'll have to look into that, Kyle.
Okay.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Happen with trees, buildings, and so on. What about the electric current? A downward electrical current exists and consists of positive ions. Molecules are clumps of matter that have a positive charge. These ions are moving slowly toward the ground. The current density from these ions is very small, around 10 microamps, or 10 picoamps, crossing each square meter or yard every second. So in any small area, there's not a lot of power. And that's the
I
explanation
like that
of
part a
atmospheric
lot.
electricity.
I always think about like gravity as kind of an electromagnetic waterfall, and because it's kind of passing through you, and so trying to jump is kind of like moving against the current, and then all of a sudden as you go like paddle forward, go up against the current, then all of a sudden it kind of pulls you back, just like going upstream. And so
that's
that's
how I
the
see
best
it.
way I could describe it is something like that.
Yeah, current, a river with a current is a good one, and that helps explain amps and things like that as well. Well, we'll get into that here at the end, near the end. So this, he's just talking, he's showing what he's going to be doing. He's going to take his little drone like he showed at the beginning there and fly it up into the air with a wire connected to it, hooked up to his little coronal motor. And he talks about how important it is to have points, and the more points you have, the more you're going to grab. Remember, we talked about this before. The sharper the angle, the more potential will travel through there.
And that's why you see the shocks and sparks coming off of tinfoil in a microwave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always at the corners and stuff where there's a crease or something like that. Yeah, I've done bunches of videos, even measuring the different potentials on a pot where you measured at the rim where it's curled over. It's a lot stronger than on the side of the pot where it's not nearly as curled. The electricity, and it's amazing because it always works the same way. Okay, come on, get to your thing.
I've been wanting to see this done with a balloon or a kite.
Well, I have one with a rocket. I'm going to show you next.
Okay, cool.
It's
Those
pretty
blades
amazing.
is connected to the wire going up into the sky. That means that when the wire starts conducting, those blades are now whatever voltage the top of the wire is up in the sky, though opposite in polarity, positive. That's why you get a shock when you touch one of those wires. Negative charge is then pulled from the plastic cylinder through a gap between the edge of the blade and the cylinder. That leaves the cylinder with the same charge, and since like charges repel, a repulsion occurs that rotates the cylinder. The next blade is connected to earth ground and becomes negatively charged, and since opposite charges attract, it attracts the charged area of the cylinder. It then neutralizes that charged area by taking electrons from the ground. And that's how atmospheric electricity can power an electrostatic motor like a corona motor. Well, thanks for watching. See my YouTube channel for more interesting.
Yeah, I love that guy. Rimstar.org. Yeah, really, really cool channel. And then there's this one. This is another one from, it's an old one. AGU, Rocket Triggered Lightning. This is neat, Kyle. You're going to like this one. University of Florida.
Oh, they're trying to get lightning to strike in a very specific place, and I never quite made that connection between that one with the drone and doing this before. That's a really good observation.
Yeah, they actually make a lightning bolt, not just get it to strike in a certain place, but they actually make the lightning bolt. Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah.
Here,
I never put these two observations together before, that it's doing the same thing.
Yeah, this is why we can't know how much power is actually really up there, because you're going to see what happens to a wire when the rocket gets about 2 kilometers.
The rocket
goes
must
the
have gone pretty
rocket.
high.
Yeah. Wow.
And it looks like they're doing that in a storm, so there's already a lot of charge differential.
Yeah, the potential's already there. They always do it when there's a storm around. It's a lot easier, save on wire, because the wire is gone. Second strike does not follow vaporized wire. See, there's the wire and it just vaporized. And then the lightning, it's still there and it wants to get to the ground, but now it's searching. You see that?
Yeah, it's trying to find the same path it did, kind of the path
Because
of
it's
least
probably
resistance.
started to go down the wire, and then the wire vaporized, and it was like, oh, gonna keep going.
Where do I go now? Yep. Yeah.
It's somewhere down here.
But yeah, so that's, where do they, if you go into their thing, they've done this on a bunch of them. That was just the shortest video they had, a real quick one. But they explain how high they go. It's about 2 kilometers up. And yeah, the wire just evaporates. It's just gone. There is no wire when it's all said and done. Yeah, it's just amazing. And then the next one, I just wanted to show how much power is actually up there. People will say like, oh, it's just 400,000 volts, which I understand. That's not a lot of electricity when you're talking about static electricity. But this has 1,800 amps, which is ridiculous. Like my Van de Graaff generator right over here, it'll get up to about 250,000 volts, but it has like next to nothing when it comes to amps. There's no current. It's all static, just gathered up there. Now, if I'm constantly cranking it, you might be able to get a current in there, but it's not going to build up that charge then anymore. Because once it strikes, once it gets so much potential on it that it has to discharge, it's no longer at 250,000 volts. That has diminished greatly. It has released all that power, and now you have to build it back up again. So, that's why we don't use Van de Graaff generators to power things. There's a reason why, we don't do that.
It's hard to control.
Yeah, and there's no amps. There's no, okay, so here's how I like to describe amps. Like my Van de Graaff generator would be considered a little pond.
Okay,
when,
so
when you're thinking of
for,
power. We're going to
explain
make
what your Venn diagram
electricity,
generator
water.
is exactly.
Yeah, it's just a
Because I remember that's the thing that you were using to show that the more charge we put on something, we can actually affect the weight of the object by changing the charge. And so
Yeah.
it's some kind of a crank generator that you're talking about.
Yeah,
your Van de
here,
Graaff generator?
I'll show it to you. I got it down here. I haven't pulled it out in a while. Yeah. But
Oh,
this,
by the way, Zach, in the chat, you have fill in the blank challenging. I can't believe this actually. I do because I think he's a troll. Right, the Corona motor is the only video I've ever seen. A couple other tests show zero change or increase in volts by raising the altitude. So he's basically
I've done this
taken on
live. Okay, go
I
ahead
know
to my
we've done it.
channel.
Yeah,
I've done it live and showed
we've
it.
done it live. He's taken on look up again like volts per meter in altitude fill. You'll find that it's well established. Feynman has got several lectures on it. If that works for you, we've tested it live. Other people have tested it live. No, that is not the only video on it. That is the most absurd statement I've ever seen. I want to see any test that shows zero change or increase in volts by raising altitude if you're not grounded. I want to see this.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
So yeah, we're going to call shenanigans on the chat, and I'm going to remove the comment as a lie. Just on a remove.
No, we're not going to be able to see that's too bright, but you can almost hear it.
Yeah, you could definitely hear that ring. Bing, bing.
Well, no, the shock.
Oh.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that think.
Oh, I'm trying not to do that. I got it sitting on my lap. I don't want to put it too close to the computer.
There's more of a
There,
snap.
I saw it there.
Yeah. So that's a Van de Graaff generator. It's just hand crank. They do have them that plug in, but it's not for creating huge amounts of electricity. It'll get up to about 250,000 volts of static electricity, and then it starts dissipating more rapidly once it gets up to that size. It doesn't just keep going up and up and up. No, that's one that I bought.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a thing called a Wimshurst generator. This one will get up to about 400,000 volts. So this is like what we have going on up in the sky. I'm going to sit back here maybe.
That one will really shock you if you put your finger in it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get it so it's not glaring too much. It's real humid out. Ooh, that was a good one. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
just a little hand crank. You said 400,000 volts?
Yeah, wow. Much more. Well, because this one has capacitors on it. These are little, like a Leyden jar almost right here. So the energy stores up in here. That's what makes this a lot different than the Van de Graaff generator.
400,000 volts. You know, I never would have thought that it was something you could even produce with a hand crank generator. You know, I'm just thinking about like I'm just thinking about those like radios that you get you got to charge it up to hear the radio and turn on a flashlight. And it's like, that doesn't take much electricity, but that thing, I wonder what kind of flashlight that can produce.
Well, again, it all comes down to amps. That's the important part. So we're going to pretend like electricity is water and the different types of water. So when you have a small little pond, we'll say that's the Van de Graaff generator. It's not moving, it's stagnant. There's your energy right there. When, you know, you can jump in and it's not going to go carrying you away. It's just a still pond. And then you want to go to like like what we have in our houses. You know, you might have, I don't know, 30, 40 amps, something like that. That's a little bit of an older house. The newer houses get higher, but say 30 amps, well, compared to that, and it would only be 120 volts. So we'll say the stream isn't as wide as the pond was, okay? But the stream has running water going through it. So there's a lot more water. Like if you're just standing here looking at it, the water you're looking at now is now down there. There's more. That's more power. Look at it that way.
So
And
you
the
got
more,
stagnant water that's not moving anywhere. So there's
that's
not a whole lot of
electrostatic.
electricity. And so then
Yeah.
there's the stuff that's not moving anywhere. And then there's the stream that is moving somewhere. And so you've got
When
a
you
lot more.
add a current to it,
Uh-huh.
that's the stream. And the stronger the current is, the more amps.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
the wider the stream, you would get more voltage. Does that make
So
sense? So
you're
your
you're saying
refrigerator
your
is
Van de Graaff
running,
generator is like the pond that's not moving?
yes, because
Okay.
it's static. It doesn't have a current going through it. There's no power. Once you dissipate that 250,000 volts, it's done instantly.
Okay. So
There's
you're
no
not
more.
charging. Okay.
There's no more power going into it. It's static charge. And then
Uh-huh.
you have a current, an electric current. So now you have that stream that's, we'll say right here, between 3 to 6 amps at 120 volts. So you think of it as it's moving by 3 to 6 miles per hour, and it's 120 feet wide.
Okay. I think I'm getting this. It's just kind of building a charge, but it's not, that charge isn't moving anywhere. And it's not
Exactly.
until it's not until you get that little zap. That's when
Yeah.
you get,
That's a
that's
current.
your charge. That's
That's
your current.
That's your
That's
current.
the only current you
Yeah.
see there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's your comparison with your Van de Graaff generator, which just kind of holds the charge without moving it until all of a sudden just there. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only.
And then we'll
current
take a small stream would be like what it would take to run your refrigerator. So you have right over here, it says 3 to 6 amps and about 120 volts. So our river is now 120 feet wide, and it's going 3 to 6 miles per hour. So, well, that will kill a human being. Anything over they say 1 to 2, 1 to 3 amps will kill a human being. Now, you don't want that. That's bad. Like 1 amp can kill a human. So now when you go to what the Earth has, that's 400,000 volts. So that's a river 400,000 feet wide, moving at 1,800 miles an hour. That's a big river. That's a real big river.
That's why lightning is so powerful, right?
Oh, lightning's even worse. We'll look up lightning here as well. And then I was just showing how much power it takes to do the okay, for a large home, a newer large home, up to 400 amps. So that's a lot of power.
It's like one lightning bolt could power like a whole neighborhood. I don't remember like exactly the scale of it for how long.
Yeah, 30 amps for an old electrical system. So they're saying the 400 amps for large homes that need more power. This is all for charging your car. You'll need this to set up a car charger at your house because they go up to about 32 amps. I've seen it up to 40, and with a 120 volt. Well, no, the regular is 120 volt house plug is 15 amps. So like your wall plug would be 15 amps, and that'll kill you like 10 times over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just kind of showing how much power is actually up there in the air. When you think about it with the currents and the amps and things like that, it's unfathomable how much power is actually up there. And to say that there's not enough,
fly in it, but you're okay because you're going with the current. I guess you could say you're not hitting a wall. But if you're going like at a really high speed and then hitting the wall, you're dead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Is that kind of what we're talking about here when it comes to it being really dangerous? Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying that the Earth itself has enough power to do what I do with my two little plates moving matter around.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth has a lot more power than me, like ridiculous amounts of power, more than I do. We'll check out what the lightning strike.
And so this is all about the effect of gravity and kind of.
Yeah, just because there's people saying there's not that enough electricity in the air to do what you do with your electrostatic plates. And it's like, even by comparison to size. And that's the thing. My thing with 250,000 volts, it would probably probably thousands of years try to sit there and hand crank a plate that's 24,000 miles wide.
They say there's not enough. Okay, well, how much is enough according to you? And if you ask them that question, they shut down because I don't even
Well,
know.
yeah, they have no idea about electricity and things, because, you know, I'll say things like, oh yeah, I can make 400,000 volts, but yeah, it's a static, it's a little pond.
Yeah.
And the earth has 400,000 volts, but it's moving 1,800 miles an hour. It, you know, in that regards, like if you're doing that comparison, you can't just look at the volts. You have to look at the current that is also being produced. And like he said, it's being pushed down. It's not moving very fast. It's not. It's a lot of power, but it's going a very long way. So yeah, it's just a nice slow. Now you fall from way up high, that current's going to get you going pretty fast. You don't want that. You're going to have a bad time. Okay, so how many volts and amps? Oh, in a lightning strike. 300 million volts at 30,000 amps. And lightning strikes, what is it, 70 to 80 times every second on Earth. So that is a river 300 million feet wide, moving 30,000 miles an hour. A lightning strike, if you compared the amount of energy. Yeah, we can't come close to creating a lightning strike. Like
Except
that amount of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for what you showed before with the
but that's not us creating it. That's us.
Yeah.
You know.
They're just tapping
Oh,
into it.
Yeah, they're just kind of focusing it on this one point.
Yeah.
And then harnessing it, you could say.
Yeah.
But
Or giving it a place to go.
Yeah, but
what
actually
about Back to the
creating that.
Future?
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah, what about when, like, if you went back in time and you knew it was gonna, oh, never mind. That's not really recreating, that's going, never mind. They were taken up with that in the chat earlier on the flux capacitor.
Yeah, if only we could just harness that somehow.
Was that this show we were talking about, the flux capacitor, the angles that it's set at? I remember you talking about that, Karen. I wasn't sure if it was on this show we did it.
Mm-hmm. The flux capacitors, it looks like it's in the golden ratio.
Yeah, that's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Okay, so that'll be it for the electricity part of it. I just wanted to throw that out there. There is so much potential. Nikola Tesla himself said it's an endless supply of energy. Endless.
Right?
Endless supply of energy.
The Earth provides, man.
It does.
I'm still wondering why we don't just put up a balloon and just start harnessing that, because it seems like it would be
There's
so
all
simple.
kinds of patents for it. There's lots of patents for it. And they were getting
it's just a matter of
pretty good
putting
at
it to
it.
use. If I had the electrical engineering skills on how to build it and put it to use, that'd be awesome. So
Well, we can do a show on that too, because there are people that are already, you don't even need to use balloons. You can just use poles with insulators on them and run a wire between them and run it down to a shack. And as long as you got all the gadgets and stuff, you can create enough power to run a house. It's crazy how much power there is.
that'd be some useful stuff right there.
Yeah. That's one of my dreams.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kyle, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and open this real quick. Share screen. Okay, so I got a response from one of the professors. So that was pretty cool. I showed you in that last video me sending out an email. And so this is the professor who responded. And I'll go ahead and share that with you, and hopefully let me know if you. Can you hear that all right?
Nope, not hearing anything yet.
You can't hear any of that?
Nope. Can you,
Okay.
Karen? Is it just me?
I'll try it again.
I don't hear
I
anything.
don't hear anything.
All right, I'll try that again. Maybe I just forgot to put the share system audio. That's easy. That gets me into
There
trouble
we go.
sometimes. Okay. So,
Yeah, and if you hit it and let it sit for a while and don't actually play any audio, it's weird. It's like it turns it off.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Professor Vandermeer, if I were to take your class and disagree with a test answer, would I be required to lie in order to pass your class? Am I required to answer test questions as if I agreed with the answers? Or do you give students room to disagree? NASA claims stars are formed by gas molecules clumping together in the vacuum of space. I don't agree with that. Gas doesn't clump together in a vacuum. It expands and fills the vacuum. If I am doing a Scantron test and am expected to say that is how stars are formed, I would feel required to lie by saying something I don't believe in. A simple solution to this problem is, instead of asking how are stars formed, ask how does NASA claim stars are formed? When you ask the question this way, I am able to separate myself from the question. I don't have a problem saying how NASA claims stars are formed. I have a problem with being expected to act like I agree with them. This is just one example that could be applied to many different kinds of questions. My big concern is, would your classes be safe for me regarding this matter? I look forward to your response. Kyle Adams.
Dear Kyle, thank you for your inquiry about the dynamics of test taking and the role of personal beliefs in answering questions. Your question raises some important considerations about the nature of academic discourse, particularly in scientific fields. First, let me address your example concerning the formation of stars. What you refer to as a claim by NASA is not merely an assertion but is based on a broad scientific consensus supported by observational data and theoretical models. While it is true that gas in a vacuum generally expands, this behavior is context dependent. In celestial formations of significant scale, gravitational forces come into play, allowing for the clumping of gas and matter. Hence, your understanding of how gases behave in a vacuum is correct but limited to specific conditions, often those we encounter at a local or smaller scale. The behavior of gas in the formation of stars is a different scenario entirely and is a subject of rigorous scientific scrutiny, not just a viewpoint espoused by NASA. As for the wording of test questions in my courses, it's crucial to note that the primary objective is to evaluate students based on the most accurate and current scientific understanding of a given topic. The questions are framed to assess whether students have grasped these accepted theories and can apply them appropriately. In that regard, the course does not provide a platform for disputing well-established scientific theories during examinations. However, classrooms are forums for intellectual discussion, and differing opinions are encouraged during classroom debates, provided they are supported by evidence and logical reasoning. I appreciate your suggestion to phrase questions in a way that indicates their source or the prevailing scientific view. While that can be illuminating in certain contexts, it may not be feasible to apply this uniformly across all questions in a standardized test, as it could unintentionally imply that these are merely claims rather than theories supported by extensive evidence. In summary, my courses are designed to be rigorous and to adhere to the best current scientific understanding of the subjects we cover. While I value open discourse, examinations are not the medium for that discourse. They are assessments meant to evaluate your understanding of well-established scientific principles. I hope this addresses your concerns. I strive to create an inclusive and intellectually stimulating environment in all of my classes, and I would be happy to continue this conversation if you have further questions. Marius.
okay. So, what are your thoughts on his response right there? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it's kind of a canned response. What's the extensive evidence? Oh, it's not just a claim. There's a bunch of this is based on extensive evidence. There's extensive evidence that gas congeals in a vacuum and makes planets.
Kind of vague, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that. That's my favorite thing when I hear, oh, there's thousands of proofs. It's like, okay, just one.
It's one.
I don't need all 1,000. You don't have to sit here, just give me the one. But there's thousands. It's like,
What's your best?
yeah, they never have that one, ever. But they know there's thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Just kind of going off on that. And so I'm just kind of looking at this of like, yeah, the vagueness of it really got to me. I was just like, really?
While I value open discourse.
Yeah.
Really.
But the problem is if you start to pull out a magnifying glass like that in class, they've got a set amount of time where they can only talk about a certain amount of things over that curriculum, and they've got to move on. They can't just spend a whole week talking about star formation when they've got the whole book to cover in a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? And so it's a challenge to really dive into that in class.
I agree with Curious Life on this, that it does sound like it was written by ChatGPT. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. I was like, how appropriate to have the AI voice read the AI response.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
There's
It
more.
might not look like it, even though we're like saying you have a good point. Never mind, right? That's what it sounds to me. It's like you have a good point, but because again, very open-ended. So does this keep going, or?
Oh yeah, I'll show you. I wrote a response to that.
Professor Vandermeer, I appreciate your timely response. That means a lot to me. May I print that and publicly share that on campus? I would like to share student responses as to their thoughts on the matter. Concerning star formation, you said NASA is not merely an assertion, but is based on a broad scientific consensus supported by observational data and theoretical models. What consensus are you referring to? When or where was that poll cast to establish said consensus? Even if it is the consensus, that just appears to be an ad populum argument to me. What observations show us gas clumps together in a vacuum? You said in celestial formations of significant scale, gravitational forces come into play, allowing for the clumping of gas and matter. The gravity that causes the gas to clump together has to come from somewhere, and NASA simply claims it comes from the collapse of other stars. I'm sorry, their answer does not satisfy me. I see that as circular reasoning. The domino chain has to start somewhere. I understand that it isn't just NASA saying this, but various textbooks also. When NASA speaks, the textbooks and media outlets echo their remarks. I also understand the importance of a student's ability to show that they listened in class and remember the curriculum. I'm not against that at all. My concern, and the concern of many other students at Utah Tech, is whether or not we are forced to speak and act as if we agreed with your curriculum in order to pass your class. It is your class, and you can feel free to list all the sources you want during class. But during a test, if you ask how stars are formed and expect a student to say, stars are formed by gas molecules clumping together in the vacuum of space, and a student doesn't actually believe that, you are requiring a student to lie in order to pass your class. That is really concerning. I don't see how just that little change, according to X, how are stars formed, just naming one of the many sources you talked about in class, is so infeasible. Is it just infeasible for you because you are not the one writing the tests? Is this a matter for the Utah State Board of Education? I'm more than willing to talk to them. Your help is greatly appreciated. Kyle Adams.
So,
Dear Kyle.
At the bottom of each of these videos here, I've been including one of my interviews. And so I could show them that I'm right here on campus. I'm not some, person on the other side of the world just making these claims, but I'm right here on your turf, kind of a thing. And so hopefully that would help inspire that. Okay, I better pay attention to this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it, man. That is
it's
awesome.
Just kind of like he's making all these vague claims and I'm just totally calling him out on it.
I have a strange question.
I go for it.
Okay, because this is like part of BYU, and I know, like, again, it's just the
No,
university.
This isn't BYU. This is Utah Tech. Yeah.
It's Utah Tech. But have you done BYU or that? How do the colleges and the teachings, again, with the Mormons, how do they overcome it disagreeing with what you would study on this?
I haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I'm anxious to find out. Like I said, I'm just kind of in the very beginning of kind of going back to school. And so as soon as I cross astronomy class, I'm definitely going to be like, highlighting everything they talk about and really paying close attention to every little detail on the way they address different things. One of their whole teaching or learning strategies that we talked about was teach to learn. That was a really big one for them. And so it's like, hey, that's what I'm doing. I learned something. I go do a bunch of research and then I make a video and I present my results. And
I think this is fabulous. Keep going. I mean, what you're doing, again, getting the conversation going, open, transparent. These are the things that need to happen. And again, at the school level with other people on the campus, I think it's fantastic. I couldn't appreciate what you're doing more.
It gives me tingles to watch the different students as the lights just turn on for them. Like, that really gives me something to think about. I've never thought about that before. And back when I was going to school, this is where I got my bachelor's degree at Utah Tech. And I was one of them. I just kind of going through the motions, and you're just so focused on trying to get a good grade that you don't really care about anything else. You're not.
And that is the trick to it, isn't it? Yeah, that is the trick to it.
You're kind of hoodwinked on that whole matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a totally different experience going back without the hood. So I'll go ahead and read his response to this whole thing.
Greatly appreciated. Kyle Adams.
Dear Kyle, regarding your inquiry about broad scientific consensus, the term doesn't refer to a poll but to the collective interpretation of empirical data by experts in the field. This consensus emerges over time through rigorous peer review, independent validation, and the accumulation of evidence from multiple lines of inquiry. In the realm of astrophysics, and specifically in star formation, this consensus has been shaped by decades of observational data and mathematical models. I'd like to clarify that this consensus is not synonymous with an ad populum argument. Rather, it's based on an extensive body of evidence that has been thoroughly examined and tested for validity. While scientific knowledge is ever evolving, well-established theories, like star formation, have withstood considerable scrutiny. You raise an interesting point about the origins of the gravitational forces that allow for the aggregation of gas and matter in space. It's a complex topic and one that science is continually investigating. However, the prevailing scientific understanding does not resort to circular reasoning. Instead, it relies on a variety of astrophysical phenomena and processes that have been carefully modeled and observed. Regarding your concerns about academic integrity and the curriculum, I fully recognize the importance of respecting individual perspectives. That said, the objective of exams and coursework is to evaluate your understanding of the scientific theories and principles as they are generally accepted by the scientific community, not necessarily to measure personal beliefs. Nevertheless, I understand your suggestion about framing questions in terms of specific sources and will give it due consideration. Is this a matter for the Utah State Board of Education? I believe this issue primarily concerns pedagogical choices at the classroom level. However, if you still feel strongly about this, you are, of course, welcome to bring it to higher authorities. You're welcome to share my response with your peers on campus. I'd only ask that you present it in its full context to ensure that the nuances of the discussion are captured accurately. Best regards, Marius. P.S. I encourage you to continue exploring these topics. The pursuit of scientific understanding is a journey that is as complex as it is rewarding.
Okay, so you could see here how he's kind of responding to the same stuff with more vagueness. Oh, well, it's been backed up with a lot of experiments, but I'm not going to go into any details to
The part that made me laugh was where it said independent validation. Who independently validated how stars are formed? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Who independently validated any of the claims? Like, it all starts with Venus is our sister planet. How did you know that? I mean, all the math is based off of that. All of their mathematical construct that they've created, this whole giant model, started with Venus is the same size as Earth.
Yeah, kind of just going into all this stuff here. It's just really just crazy. And just the whole thing on it's infeasible for me to change my questions the way I asked them. Like, what? Really? And here he's talking about pedagogical or pedagogical. I can't even say that. But what that means is it's in classroom. That means it's his thing. He's the one doing it. It's a teacher's choice on the classroom level and not just the State Board of Education. I'm like, okay, well, if it's your choice, you're the one writing the test, why would that be infeasible to just make that little change? And yeah, but it kind of goes into a whole other ball game here, because as I started looking at this, I started thinking about, okay, this is a state-run school, and here we have an issue on the classroom level, but this issue gets a lot bigger when you talk about something like the SATs and all the other tests out there, because the Utah State Board of Education is it does the same thing. It's not just this one class, but it's classrooms not just in Utah, but across the United States and even across the world. We see this over and over and over again. And so it's a really big problem. So I went and sent an email off to the Utah State Board of Education expressing similar concerns here. Haven't gotten a response from them yet. I might have to go in and talk to them personally, but I'm not afraid to do that. It's kind of one of those.
Get him, Kyle.
I'm hearing my war drums going, and like, I'm going to go in there and make a statement in person if they're going to ignore me in email. And but there's a much bigger thing here when we start to look at this. And if you're a religious person, okay, and you don't believe in human evolution, they're forcing you to deny your religion in order to pass a test. That is unconstitutional entirely. That's against your freedom of religion. You have to deny your religion in order to pass a test, and that's huge. And so I'm seeing like this little ember. It kind of started off with just being a question about how stars are formed and asking different students about that. And then all of a sudden that the ember just started to glow a little brighter when I started noticing the way that they force you to agree with the curriculum, or lie and pretend like you agree with the curriculum. And so that the ember got, that little bit brighter, and all of a sudden it's getting even brighter when we see how it's just trampling on our freedom to believe whatever it is we want to believe. And the whole freedom of religion thing. If you don't believe in the Big Bang, all of a sudden now you're forced to act like you believe in the Big Bang. You are forced to deny your religion in order to pass a test in a state-run school, or even a federal. They've got federal tests out there. And so this is not just a matter for the Utah State Board of Education, but this is for the United States Board of Education itself, the Department of Education. So yeah, huge things going on right here. And yeah, I'm just seeing that coal just burn brighter and brighter. I'm just like trying to blow as much air onto it as I can right now to just get into this huge flame. And I'm not talking about just like a flame of, I'm not trying to incite violence here or anything like that, but a fire is something that you turn and everybody notices. It's kind of hard to miss. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's another thing I was going to point out here, and that is about the consensus. The consensus, and these are. Oh yeah, we've got this consensus of who. Like, there's no poll. He admitted that there was no poll, and where did it go? Okay, here we go. It kind of reminds me of this whole. We can't really be sure. We're 99.99% sure of something, but yeah, we're not 100% sure of something. Like, and so it's a similar concept here with a poll of who knows how much is in the population group. You know what I mean? A consensus of who. You got to tell me about your basis. What's your population? So what is 9 over X? What percent is that? Right? 9 over X. It doesn't work. You can't say that that's a percentage of anything. Right? And so if you're saying, oh, well, we've got a consensus of an unknown population, you're essentially telling me 9 out of X. So that's your consensus. Yeah. And yeah. So I constantly go to this whole example here when it comes to that whole thing of, well, I'm 80% sure, 90% sure. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't really mean anything to me if you don't know what the difference between 75% sure looks like as compared to 80% sure. It's just kind of an expression of emotion for me. So we were talking a little bit about painting earlier and math, and it just this kind of came up to my mind. Math and painting are both they're both means of describing an observation. Without reality to compare it to, it doesn't prove anything. So yeah, you've got to, this whole thing represents a math equation. And just because 2 times 2 equals 4, that doesn't mean a yardstick is 4 feet long. And so it can look good on paper, but so long as it doesn't actually look anything like what you might observe in reality, then it's meaningless. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well put. I like that meme there.
Yeah. Math and painting, they're just different means of describing reality or an observation, and sometimes it can be a lot more fictitious than others.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You can lie with math, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially like statistics. They love statistics. They've been using statistics for forever. Wasn't
Studies
it
say chocolate will help you lose weight. And okay, well, what studies exactly? And it's always about a matter of pulling out the magnifying glass. They expect you to be lazy and not look into it, not do any research in it. And that's what they're banking on. And so, yeah, that's kind of the first thing we really need to do when it comes to going back to school and paying attention to anything, especially coming from NASA. If NASA says it, pull out the magnifying glass and let's see those, and let's see it. And if they can't say it simply, then yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean,
really
school definitely needs to be totally revamped, especially through the K through like 6th grades, I'd say 7th grades.
Oh yeah.
They need to be taught the trivium. They need to be taught how to think. Yes, reading, writing, arithmetic are important, but I think understanding how to use logic is so much more important than all of these other things that they're teaching in. Like, you don't need to teach a child science in the solar system and all this stuff in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. They don't even need that stuff. Teach them how to think. Yeah, you can show them some little, demonstrations, get them interested in certain things, but teach them how to think, how to figure things out.
That's what I've been really enjoying about this whole BYU boot camp thing, kind of going back to school, is that's exactly what they're doing. I'm like, what? They're actually like focusing on like thinking errors and how to think critically, how to ask good questions. Like, wow, why didn't they teach me? Why don't they teach that stuff to kindergartners? Yeah, exactly what you're talking about. And so that's got me really excited about.
Well, and your answer to that, Kyle, your answer to that is exactly what you think it is. skills that they should be teaching, and they admittedly do teach in a lot of the colleges, but they teach it to you after they have your baseline facts that they need you to know established. In other words, when you're learning how to critically think, at that point you're already accepting this whole baseline as truth. So you're jumping off thinking from their facts, not before. Do you understand how they tuck that into it? So you're not going back on it again. You're learning how you're going to accept that you're on a flying water ball. You're going to accept all of these things as truth. It's already programmed in your mind, and then with that as your baseline that you've already accepted, it's already 100% in your mind as a solid fact. At that point, you're told to open up, now try to think, and your good thinkers are going to be put on tasks of trying to reconcile the flying water ball with reality, because again, there is not a correct answer to it. So because they're saying this is a fact, connect them, you can just tie up a lot of brain energy there, good brain energy. It's again, propaganda, and pay attention to the way they do it. I'm glad that they're teaching them, but you're right. Why isn't it done? Why isn't that the first thing you learn? That should be the first. You should learn how to learn, not in college, but you're right, in kindergarten, when you're going into your learning, learn how to think, learn how to ask these questions. That should be a skill going into where you're learning these things, not, oh, now that you've memorized this, because again, I know that when my son went to school and that it wasn't about even them being able to explain why he would get a wrong answer. It doesn't matter. You just have to answer the way that they want you to. They don't need to explain it. So again,
Oh,
you
they
have
hated me because
Mhm.
you have to show your work doing math. It's like I do that in my head. It's just putting a 3 above that number there and then subtracting. It's simple. Why do I have to show that to you? I did it right here.
Yeah.
And this
Then
was 1985. It's not like I had a calculator, a small little tiny calculator. They didn't make calculators that small back then.
yeah, that was one of the interviews I talked about with someone. Is he was upset because he did math and got the right answer in the wrong way, and so he just yeah, and they're like, no, that's not the way you want to do it, and so yeah, he was upset about that. But that's kind of how it goes. They're just so ingrained in doing that, and it's just the crazy messed up world we live in, right? But yeah, at first I was really upset about, like, I just want to test out of this stuff, but I'm actually like enjoying it because I'm kind of noticing the beauty of it all, and just like, wow, I'm so glad they're actually teaching this. And yeah, so I'm kind of enjoying my experience in going through all this, and yeah, just getting out there and just letting them know who I am. And yeah, it's all one big fun adventure.
Right.
That's
That
awesome, man.
adventure,
Enjoy it.
is huge, because what you can do is you can say, look at the learning skills you have now, the critical thinking, and Kyle, you're in the perfect place to look at these students and direct them to take these questions. You get them going. It's one tells one, another tells another. Again, that's how you make a change. But now that they're right, they're told to critically think at this point, have them backtrack get them going.
Yeah,
Again, if
and that's kind
nobody
of the
tells
fun.
them to
Yeah.
stop that back, there's nothing for them not to jump forward doing it. They have to, again, have it on their radar, because it's already been indoctrination.
Yeah, I'm not the only one in my class. This is an online virtual class, and so we actually have a classroom setting where there's like 30 other people, and I actually get to stand up and talk. They're like, "Here, have the floor." And so, yeah, people are listening to me, and yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome, man. Keep it up. I can't wait to see what else you got bring to the show. Yeah, this is awesome. Well, all right, folks. That is going to do it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. We will be ending the show with a Flattoberfest 2023 Las Vegas, October 21st and 22nd video. Do you have the newer one, Karen? Did we play that on GLOBEBUSTERS? The newer one? I found one from 2 months ago. I think you're muted.
She is.
Yeah, you're still muted, Karen.
We do have the newer one. It's on the GlobeBusters channel, actually posted as a video, not a live. We have the newer one. I
was gonna
don't
say,
know
I thought it
where.
was there.
Yeah, we
Okay.
did, because
It's
we
2
posted it.
minutes.
we did it above everybody because they like to get us on strikes on the other replay. So we actually are the original posters
Yeah,
of
it
that.
should be on GLOBEBUSTERS channel.
There it is. Yep, 1 month ago. Okay. Yes, for tickets, I mean, it'll be in there and everything, but I love watching this part roll through here when you go down. Wah! I don't know
And
why
we have
that gets me every time, Karen.
we have more excited people in the chat that have just gotten tickets today.
I hope you use Thanks Bob in the
Hope you use
promo
Thanks
code,
for
10%
the
off.
Mhm.
We've been shouting it out on all the shows. Remember,
Mhm.
Thanks Bob.
Thanks, Bob, for 10% off. Yes.
All right. Well, we will play this and then we're going to be out of here, folks. So thank you so much for hanging out. That was a fun one. Kyle, thank you for sharing that with us. That was so cool.
I got all this built up fire inside me. I just got to let it out sometimes.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my big goal here. My big ambition is to make my call to action so much louder than it ever has been before, and actually, inspire people to actually do stuff.
That's
Right
awesome,
on.
man. Yeah. Well, if the very least, I know the students there are going to, that'll be a great experience for them. Because there's not many students, 18, 19, at the very young ages that are that,
Yeah.
sure about themselves.
It's fun being able to just kind of walk through the group and say, just kind of lift the hood over everyone's eyes and say, hey guys, take a look around. And they're actually doing it. And it's really cool.
That's awesome, man. Keep it up. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Remember, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other.
Wait, they're going to show something? You never showed it for Flattoberfest.
Yeah, I'm going to.
You can play it now.
I'm going to play it and then just end the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So remember, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind because there's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Flat Earth Festivals presents Flattoberfest 2023, an international flat Earth event in Las Vegas, Nevada, at Samstown Hotel and Gambling Hall. October 21st and 22nd. Featuring Jason Lindgren of Secrets of Saturn and the Crow 777 radio show, and Ben Balderson of Odin's Alchemy. From the UK, Dave Murphy and Mark Devlin. 2 full days, all day. Presentations and live music with Jaron Campanella and Austin Whitsitt. Meet most of the GLOBEBUSTERS crew in real life. With Amanda Vollmer and Greg Reese of the Reese Report and InfoWars. And of course, the creator of the Flat Earth Clues, Mark Sargent. And David Weiss, the creator of the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Live music by Chief Crow and the Flat Earth Worms. That's right. Go to flattoberfest.com